Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kathy and I. We're a day early again because I have something else on tomorrow. And I'm Louise Edington, the Cosmic Owl, your cyberpunk witch priestess to the stars. And I would just like to give a shout out for the series immersion, series reborn immersion that I am doing on March the 21st and 22nd. There is an early bird price if you sign up now and register now, and a payment plan. And it's going to be a really deep dive into series, both as the planet and also in your own charts. So there's lots of extra goodies and things. And if you really want to build on what my book was about, come and get to know the planet that I insist is a personal planet. Come along to the workshop and learn to understand her for yourself or as an astrologer. And you can find that on my website as well, louiseeddington.com. All the links will be in the description. So, Kathy.
Hey, I'm Kathy Biehl. My site is empowermentunlimited.net. My YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian. And I have a couple of places where there's some information that might interest you. One of them is I run a group on Facebook, yes, I'm still there, called the Astro Insight Lounge, where we often discuss how astrology is playing out on the ground. Um, anyway, if that's interest to you, you have to apply to get in. And if you don't answer the questions, you don't get in. And I have a show on the Om Times Media Network called Celestial Compass, and I would like to refer everybody to the interview I did this Monday with an astrologer named Eric Pride, who works a lot with traditional and Uranian astrology, who has an absolutely fascinating analysis of what this week's big aspects are doing to the U.S., and he is highly optimistic. He says it's birthing the U.S. 2.0. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Professional Aquarian, look for the latest Celestial Compass episode. I think it's dated February 16th, and you'll be doing the happy dance when after you hear him.
And I've been optimistic for ages, forever. It's kind of hilarious how it's all coming together. I commented on a Substack blog this morning that it's by Daniel Pinchbeck. He writes Liminal News, and he kind of talks about spirituality and politics, the mundane as well, a bit like how I think astrology works. Anyway, and he said he's optimistic too, but we're pulling all the threads together of like the new age gurus falling, and as well as all these other rich and powerful, mostly men, but also some women, obviously, and how they're all being outed. And I knew it would come, and it's all affecting the US chart as well. We're going to
Yeah,
find
and
out that
we
a
have
lot of
both
this has
been,
been going on for years, decades,
but
centuries.
Victory Lap here, we have been
Mhm.
saying this since November 2024. We have been
We
saying
have.
this.
Yes, we
So,
have. Yep. Anyways, which are we doing first? We didn't ask that.
oh,
Let's
the
do the
news.
news. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me get it up on the screen. Now, I like to go over big stories in the news, and sometimes they're kind of small, that actually play out the aspects that we've been talking about. And the first one is Neptune has left Pisces and is now in Aries. And I have been saying this is going to be burning off a lot of fog and bringing a lot of things, just reanimating a lot. And it's got an assist with Saturn, the planet of rulers, structure, the patriarchy this week. Okay, so thing one, European labs have confirmed that Alexei Navalny died from poison from an African dart frog. That's
Oh, I
then there's a
missed
whole
that one.
you missed that one. Then there's a whole this is a connect the dots issue for you. Just follow me on
Mm,
this and there'll be more to come. What in the world is going on at CBS Paramount? Last
mm,
week, the top antitrust enforcer left the Department of Justice, apparently over a disagreement over the role that the administration wants to take in mergers. Hold that thought. Anderson Cooper leaves 60 Minutes after nearly 20 years on the show. Paramount renews its bid for Warner Brothers. So this is a big antitrust issue. And Warner Brothers had rejected Paramount's bid in favor of Netflix. Paramount keeps changing the bid. And now Warner Brothers has said, okay, we'll consider it. Stephen Colbert, whose show was on CBS, owned by Paramount, starts the week by revealing that CBS's lawyers instructed him not to interview a Texas Senate candidate, James Tallarico, because of the FCC's recent letter that considers lifting the equal time exemption for talk show hosts, which has been in place for a long time. And the interview streams instead on YouTube, which is not under the FCC watch. And now there's this giant he said, she said kerfuffle that has ensued. CBS says, no, we
And
didn't.
Colbert is not being quiet on
No, he's not being quiet. And, and I'll just point out he's a Taurus, so good luck pushing him off his position. He's actually a Catholic who lives his faith as well. So and there are questions about what was, at any rate, just hold on to that. All right, that's a big Saturn-Neptune. What's going on? What's the illusion? What's really happening? The FCC requested and reviewed a transcript of the Super Bowl halftime show because a Republican rep complained about it. And a commissioner found that there was no violation of the broadcast rules. All right.
Oh, yeah,
So,
I see all that.
more Saturn-Neptune. The first man has been jailed for the crime of coercive control under a new Australian law. Coercive control is defined as a person using repeated patterns of physical or non-physical abuse to hurt, scare, intimidate, threaten, or control someone. This is also Chiron conjunct Eris, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've got this ongoing Saturn and Neptune blending at the very first degree of the zodiac. And let's add the eclipse on the 17th in Aquarius squared by Uranus. German railway was hit by a cyber attack on the actual day of the eclipse on its IT systems, which took out travel info and booking tools on its site and on an app. YouTube, also on the eclipse, had a global outage Tuesday evening due to what it calls an issue with its recommendation systems. Millions of people couldn't get into it. Obama nonchalantly mentioned in an interview that aliens are real. And then he backpedaled. People started asking about it. He said there was no evidence during his presidency. But nonetheless, just put a little pin in that one. The ex-South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol was sentenced to life in prison for declaring martial law. A federal court ordered the return of panels, displays, and video exhibits that referenced slavery and also talked about the people who were enslaved at the president's house in Philadelphia. And the judge blasted Trump's removal of slave history as Orwellian. All right, now all of this together, the big jumble is major movement, action, shocks, breakthroughs on the ongoing international crime syndicate involving sex trafficking. Representative Thomas Massey's on the House Oversight Committee posted on X about his health, his habits, and his good mental state, kind of insurance against if anything happens to me, it will not be suicide. What kind of world are we in? All right, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, released a letter with the names of 300 plus politically exposed individuals, which included people who died before any of this known operation happened, such as Elvis and Janis Joplin. There's a little Neptune part. Representative Ted Lieu made an on-camera statement. Now, he's the one that told Bondi in her hearing that she had just lied under oath. So he has made an on-camera statement that Trump raped
No,
girls.
he said there are allegations in
Oh, that
there.
they're
He's
allegations. Okay. He said that the files,
mhm,
that the released materials have
mhm.
allegations
Yeah.
of raping girls and expressing interest in murder.
Mhm.
He also called on Todd Blanche to resign for numerous reasons, including the fact that Blanche says it's not against the law to go to a party. And Lou points out, thank you for correcting me, by the way. Lou
Oh, it's
points
okay.
out that the actual sex trafficking statute includes patronizing a party. All right. So
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
House Oversight Committee deposed Les Wexner, owner of the Limited and more, at his home. The only people who showed up were Democrat members. He claims he was conned.
Yeah.
New Mexico has created a commission to investigate Zorro Ranch. There's a claim that's come out from the Netherlands that foreign girls are buried there.
Mhm.
And owner, the current ranch owner, or the man who's connected, I think he is the owner, a company he owns is the owner, Don Huffines, who's a Texas politician who's running for the office of comptroller, which is the financial guy for the state. He said in an interview with Matt Gaetz that, oh, he's already in the process of demolishing the ranch to turn it into a place for Christian children.
Oh, children for children. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Poland's now going back to what Louise and I and our
Mhm.
friend Andy have been saying from the
Mhm.
from the beginning about information coming around the globe. Poland's prime minister says that his country's investigations will examine Epstein's ties to Russian and Belarusian intelligence. And he claims that those intelligence networks exploited Epstein's network to gather blackmail on influential figures.
Mm.
That one's going to come back here. The UN Human Rights Council says that these files may contain acts are that constitute crimes against humanity.
Mm. Oh yeah. Mhm.
Thomas Pritzker, a relative of the governor of Illinois, resigned from his role as executive chairman of the board of Hyatt Hotels. Governor Pritzker doesn't have anything to do with Hyatt Hotels anymore because he's also Thomas Pritzker is named in the files. And the big news that broke, one we all woke up to, the UK
Mhm.
police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor on suspicion of misconduct while in public office.
And that's more to do with sharing information, government information with Epstein, apparently. Unfortunately, it's not to do with the abuse of women yet, but
You
whatever.
know, Al Capone,
All
massive
together, they were all
mobster, was
together.
gotten on tax.
Exactly.
So, you know,
Yeah.
yep.
hmm Exactly. And Bill Gates has done something as well. He's stepped aside from something. And I'd
Oh,
also I'd also love to mention that Erica Kirk, who is the wife of Charlie Kirk, who was murdered here in Utah or assassinated, whichever, her ties to Romanian orphanages have um, reared
hmm.
their head again as well in the last week. So, and talking of poisons, I will be mentioning Centaur Nessus when I go through the aspects very well. And I've mentioned over and over again that Nessus is to do toxins and poisons. So Navalny again as well. There's that. And Nessus has been sitting in Pisces, being activated over and over again. And so we'll talk about that when we look at the charts. But I'm just going to quickly run through the big aspects for up till the lunar eclipse on March the 3rd. I did it last week, so I'm not going to share the chart. But I just want to say February the 20th, tomorrow, big day, Saturn Neptune conjunction, the first Saturn Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries in over 6,000 years. I've done presentations on that, and Kathy did presentations on the Saturn Neptune conjunction as well. And then also on the same day, Mercury will conjunct Nessus that I just mentioned at 20 Pisces for the first time because Mercury is about to go retrograde and Mercury will revisit Nessus on March the 3rd and then again on April the 8th after the retrograde. So things are going to be coming back around and back around. So, and then I'm just going to hop to February the 24th, which is State of the Union, which I hadn't realised. Thanks, Kathy. That's the first quarter moon. I don't always mention those, but we are in the middle of the eclipses, which is always a big period. And on the first quarter moon, the moon squares the moon's nodes because they are new and full moon. Full moons conjunct the nodes. So that's going to be a big turning point. And the first quarter moon is at 5 Gemini Pisces. So I just clock those degrees. And then we have another big day on the 26th because Mercury stations retrograde on that, and so Mercury stations retrograde will be retrograde till March the 20th, but the Cazimi, where Mercury and the Sun will meet, is on March the 7th. So we'll be watching those dates. But also on the 26th, the Venus will conjunct Nessus as well. So Mercury and Venus really are conjunct Centaur, Nessus, toxins, poisons on pretty much together. And
May I
then
make
yes, go on.
when you're done with that day, may I say something about Mercury retrograde?
And also on the 26th, Chiron will conjunct Ceres. And I meant to say that Mercury will turn direct at 8 Pisces, which is on the North Node. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about that day quickly.
What I want to mention about Mercury retrograde is that it's going to spend the whole retrograde in Pisces, and it starts out at 26 degrees, and it's going to be, so often things come back around that were unfinished or unclear or lied about. Well, it's going to travel through territory that Saturn and Neptune hung out in quite a bit. End of the year, early in the year for Saturn, and particularly during last year's first eclipse season in
because
March.
Mercury and Venus were both retrograde then, went from 9-10 Aries back to 24 to 26 Pisces. So.
And we had a lot of bodies at the end of Pisces, especially in March. So those are some time periods that are like, they're kind of like marked by the sky for stuff to come bubbling up from the depths, like, oh, this was going on, and this was going on, and this was going on.
Yep. And the Chiron Ceres conjunction is really triggering a period where Chiron, Ceres, and Eris, the table turner, they're all going to hit 24 degrees together. So that's a big kind of opportunity for healing, but showing us where everything has not been meeting our needs, everything. So in so many ways. Okay, so then on the 27th, the Sun will conjunct the North Node at 8 Pisces. That 8 Pisces, because the nodes sit at the same degree through the eclipses, is a hot degree. I already mentioned that Mercury will station direct at 8 Pisces, and then Venus was conjunct the North Node at 8 Pisces on the solar eclipse on February the 17th. So it's a hot degree. And the sun shining the light on it is going to bring something forth. And on that same day as well, Mars still in Aquarius, but at 27 Aquarius on the USA's moon will square Uranus. And that's always a volatile aspect. But of awakenings as well, but it can be, rather shocking, shall we say. So 27th could be a shocking day.
Could be technology breakdowns. Oh, and we should put in here, that's the time period that the Clintons are supposed to be deposed.
Oh.
Just remember that that's kind of the background program going while they're supposed to be deposed.
And as that happens, very early Eastern time, the very next day on the 28th, Mercury and Venus meet at 22 Pisces as Mercury is heading towards his retrograde. So information, news about women, money, all those kind of things coming out. I love that it's at 22 as well. I love my numbers. So, yeah, on to the March the 1st. Ceres will then conjunct Eris exactly, but that is at 24 degrees Aries. And so Chiron has reached 24 Aries then as well. That's a big shake-up point that's kind of happening for this whole period, really. So
I have one thing to add to
then,
that
yes,
before
go
we go
on.
on. Mars crosses the degree of the eclipse on March 1st. And
It does.
When Mars has a hard aspect to an eclipse degree,
Mm.
it activates something. So something, and with those other aspects that Louise just mentioned,
Mm.
March 1st is, I don't know, look at what's behind me. Yeah, it could be. Look at what's
And look
behind
at,
Louise. Yeah, it could
yeah.
be.
and then on March the 2nd, Mars enters Pisces, joins the Pisces party. If you remember, all these planets are moving towards the end of the zodiac and then will eventually move into Aries. We've looked at that a lot of times. But Mars in Pisces, I'm kind of liking that because we've got Neptune in Mars sign, and Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, and Mars is the ruler of Aries. So they're in mutual reception, and that is much more kind of spiritual warrior energy, I think.
Hmm.
So, but we're also seeing, the outing of all the spiritual gurus who are all enmeshed in this web as well. So there'll be more of that, I suspect.
I think so.
And on that day as well, the sun, so March the 2nd, the sun will meet Pallas Athena at 12 Pisces. And Pallas Athena is really kind of seeing into all these shadows and pulling pieces together, in my opinion. So. And then March 3rd, last day we're going to look at, we have the lunar eclipse, which is a blood red moon, but literally kind of minutes, about 20 minutes after the official blood red moon, Mercury meets Nessus. Poisons, toxins, abuses of power under a blood red moon. Tower card, in my opinion. Do you have anything to say about
Oh,
that?
lunar eclipses always bring incredible revelations. So this one
Hmm.
promises, and it ends a chapter. So Mars will have just blown something up, and then this,
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
You can run, but you can't hide. This is the Jenga tower with a really critical piece or four being pulled out of it.
And especially a total lunar eclipse. I know people feared them, but I think that's why they were feared by people who didn't want to be found out, in my opinion, because they're cosmic catalysts for revealing what's been hidden. So there you go. Ooh, which chart shall we look at first?
Oh, you want to get the royals out of the way and
Sure, let
spend more
me.
time on, yeah.
So I'll look at Andrew first, yeah?
Yeah, Andrew was arrested on his birthday, and his solar return was on his birthday. So this is energy that has been building for a while, and it's going to stay with him all year. No surprise, and it's
Mm,
really not anything any of the rest of us would want to live through.
I'm just going to put the current transits round it because he was arrested this morning. So Cassie, you look at these royal charts even more than I do. I know I'm in your little group, but obviously we can see he's just had his solar return. Oh, tough luck. His Chiron is at 27 Aquarius, which was the degree of the solar eclipse, but it's also the degree where Mars will square Uranus.
Yeah, where Mars will square Uranus, and it's in an exact square to
Mm-hmm.
Uranus up there in the 10th house, which is public reputation. So
Mm-hmm.
something has blown. Also, that eclipse was at 28 plus, but basically 29
Mm.
Aquarius. So it straddled his Chiron and his Sun. It actually set
Yeah.
his Sun off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
House of Open Enemies. All right, so they're going for him.
Mm. And I
Um,
want to, I kind of, in fact, let me put that eclipse on. I kind of want to give a little shout out for um, my so-called minor aspects because, we look at this 27, 28-degree mark. The eclipse was 28 degrees, semi-sextile. His Ceres, Venus, Mars conjunction, all in his sixth house. Now, if people remember, Epstein has a tight Venus Mars conjunction. Few of the other players do as well. And this, I think this shows his thinking he just had power over all these physical beings, in
mhm.
so many ways. Such an entitled person. But anyway.
It definitely fits with that.
So semi-sextiles, they're kind of a bit itchy aspects, and I love that the eclipse has revealed kind of this, and he got arrested because of it. So it can be money as well, and women, and sexual, and all kinds of things. Mhm.
So his 12th house is ruled by has Cancer on it, which means it's ruled by the moon. The
Mhm.
12th house is your house of self-undoing. It's how you sabotage
Mhm.
yourself. It's a house of hidden things, of criminality, and institutions. And so if you look at his moon down there in the fourth house at 25 degrees Scorpio, Uranus has been um, uh,
I'd say
opposite that.
they're still within orb, I think, really, don't
Right.
you?
Well, look
Because
at
this
Nessus
energy's so big. Yes, and
and his
yeah, I'll
Nessus.
just get these. Yeah, and his Nessus is just tuning it. Oh yeah, right there. Yeah, revealing abuses of power of all kinds. He's being accused of passing information to Epstein that he had no right to pass on, right? As well as being accused of sexual abuse by Virginia Giuffre and others. So, mhm.
So what is going on with,
Yes, this is his Nessus, just to clarify for
right?
everybody. What is going on with
There's something with Jupiter, but I'm not seeing it. It's not jumping out at me. Um,
what by transit? Or well,
what is
Jupiter's stationing direct at 15 Cancer and pretty much opposing his Saturn.
opposing his Saturn? Yeah, that's a big
Is
one.
that what you've seen?
That might be what I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking of. I think I looked at his progress chart too, and it's got a whammy in it. Let me
I can
see.
put that up in a minute, but
Let me
as we're
see
in
if
the
I can.
eclipses, while you look, I would like to mention that I've mentioned it many times. During the eclipses, the nodes sit at 8 Virgo Pisces, but that's really close to his Pluto is in his chart. And after the eclipses, the south node will travel back over his Pluto. So he's having a lot of kind of things that were embedded in his soul, if you like, or in his map of potential coming back to roost. And to talk about that series, Chiron Eris conjunction, yes, it's at 24 degrees, but it's right at the top of his chart. So that's his most visible place as well.
What I'll mention from his progress chart, which is kind of like what he's evolved into,
Mm,
Mercury in his progressed Mercury in his ninth house, foreign affairs, legal proceedings, is exactly squaring his Saturn in the sixth. So there's information, there's attacks, there's something coming at him.
Would you like me
And
to do his progress
nah, I
chart?
think
Just
that's
to.
the only thing worth mentioning
Okay.
out of it. It's somebody else's chart I was thinking of with the
Yeah.
with the yeah. So
but
um,
also but also just just this whole eighth house kind of energy, this morning, as Mercury is on the eclipse, sorry, as Mercury was heading towards its retrograde, he was having a Mercury return. But the eighth house is often a place of secrets, but also manipulation, power games, all of hidden things. And the north node is kind of revealing a lot of this. I think we're going to find out a lot more about what Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been up to all his life.
And that Mercury retrograde is going to do it because, as we
Hmm.
said, it's starting at 26 degrees Pisces, his south node, his default behaviors, his behavior in the past. Uh,
Hmm.
Mercury's gone over, it's going to go over it once, go over it, well, it has gone over it once, right? And it's going to go over
Yeah,
it again and no, 3 times. So information about what he's been doing with eighth house is sex, eighth house is crime, eighth house
it's not
is
it's not
money.
gone over yet. We're going to find
Oh,
out
it
more.
hasn't gone over yet. Oh, so there's more to come, more to come.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the Venus Mercury conjunction is at 22 Pisces,
Pretty
and that's
close.
close enough to very close. Yeah, yeah. So, oh, I think we've got a lot more that's going to
Oh,
come out.
Venus Mercury
Hmm.
conjunction in the house of death. Maybe a woman or more who are no longer with us
Hmm.
will speak somehow
From the dead.
from the dead. His main accuser is no longer with us,
Hmm.
so,
Yeah,
or
and
his most known accuser is no longer with us.
I saw a weird reel. It was clearly AI, but I also think sometimes these things are foreshadowing of somebody in the news interviewing Virginia Gouffre's brother and his wife who were carrying her torch, and it was clearly like made up because it was somebody in the royal family was interviewing them. But are they going to kind of come out with more stuff, or
Mm,
the person that wrote her um, autobiography said she has all the receipts locked away carefully somewhere, right? As
names.
well,
She has
names.
names.
Hmm.
That's the woman who may speak up.
Could be.
Could
Hmm.
be.
Yep. So
Could we
who else next?
Could
Charlie?
we look? Yeah, could we look at so the reason I want to look at King Charles's chart is that he is the embodiment of the throne, the crown,
Mm,
the leader of the royal family, and he said he's going to
hmm.
cooperate.
Mm. I think he will. I think he really will. Hmm.
Well, I think they went ahead and did it once he gave the okay, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I do. Well, look at the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. This is set for the eclipse, but on the 20th, it's at 0 Aries, right on his Juno, which is sacred contracts with each other. I've always felt, having grown up with the royal family, that he's got more integrity than, should I say, some of the other royals. I always felt he had. I know he's not always done the right thing in every respect, but generally, for criminality at least and things, I think I've always felt he was more um, straight, shall we say. Pluto's coming up to his descendant there, so that's.
Pluto is there, and can you draw lines between Pluto and his nodes?
Oh yeah,
So
because
his
there's.
everyday patterns, also his health, how he's managed his life, the people who are around him on a regular basis, all of that is undergoing a massive, massive, and unavoidable
Mm.
transformation.
And
And
just to say, this is a square, even though it doesn't quite. It's a bit wonky because of where the planets are, but this is also in the home of the ancestors and heritage, if you like, and his public fate place, his nodes. So Pluto's square his nodes.
I would say it's having
Hmm.
an impact on his health because the sixth
Hmm.
house involves health. And with Pluto's going to go back and forth over his doorway to his one-on-one relationships. I don't know if this is affecting his marriage or if this is simply the complete death of a major relationship in his life, which would be with his
Hmm.
brother.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it impacts him. Some people are predicting it will bring down the royal family. I don't know. I may do, but maybe it'll just reform it more. Who knows?
Well, so Uranus is opposite his Chiron in the fifth.
Hmm.
So that
There we
means
go.
that the eclipse made a T square to the eclipse in his eighth house. I mean, he kind of really didn't
Mm.
have much choice but to go along with this.
No, he didn't. And the eclipse was right on the cusp of his eighth house, which another layer of that is really kind of deeply bonded relationships and shared resources. And the
Mhm.
royal family is so like deeply entwined in so many things. I mean, Andrew, until he was arrested. Oh, I love the picture of him in jail. But anyway, was still living in a not a royal residence, not owned by the people, but still owned by the royal family. So, mhm,
So,
mhm.
where's his Saturn? The South Node's on his Saturn. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
And if
that's pretty big.
and his Saturn is conjunct Andrew's Pluto. So, mhm.
Well,
So he had to be
more.
the one to say, you've broken the rules. I'm not gonna stop what's coming for you, kind of thing. He had to. He had felt he had no choice in many ways. Mhm. I'd say Nessus as well by transit is
Mhm.
sitting square to his Mars,
Oh, yeah.
including all those Mercury hits over Nessus square his Mars. And Mars in Sag is I have Mars in Sag. We cannot help but fight for truth. I can tell you that. Even if he was a bit constrained by other things in the past, I don't think he's going to be any more. I think he's a bit
No.
horrified by what he's finding out too. Hmm. Hmm.
Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm complete.
Yep. Okay. Who next? So we were going to look at. We've got the apparent resident of the Oval Office or the USA chart, or both. We can do both.
I think both.
Yep.
So
Let's
let's
do
start
that.
with him and then
Yeah.
get that out of the way.
Yep. So Nessus again. I told you his Nessus, Centaur Nessus, has been a big player in revealing what's been coming out over and over again. And a reminder that Mercury is going to go retrograde at 26 Pisces, back to 8 Pisces in this house of, well, it's open enemies. It's also, it's kind of one on one relationships, significant relationships, but it's square his nodes.
So,
Exactly.
information
Yeah.
coming out that will have a huge impact on what his public role is, which this
Hmm.
eclipse also hits because if you look, the solar eclipse was on his seventh house cusp and it's opposite his Mars and
Hmm.
it's squaring Uranus up there in the house of career and public reputation, really close to the tent pole of his life. Now, I've been
Yeah.
saying since March of last year that these aspects that Uranus in the 10th and various things happening to it are wrecking
Hmm.
balls. Well, a wrecking ball can hit only so many times before
Hmm.
something collapses.
And just more kind of granular aspects. I said Venus and Mercury will meet at 22 Pisces. That's square his sun, almost exactly. So, and he was born on an eclipse. So, he's always been felt to be Teflon and lucky because he was born under an eclipse and he's been able to gaslight and eclipse a lot of people. This is a lot of gaslighting too here. I think it's all being revealed. It's all coming out. Um,
And it has to do with women, has to do with money, has to do with lies,
mhm,
has to do um,
mhm.
with glamour, with
Deception,
illusion,
yes,
deception.
all of that, yeah. And secrets, things, hidden things like allegedly bodies buried on golf courses as well and things. So.
I've been interested in that one for some time.
And
Can you?
also, just to
Mhm.
mention that this Nessus related to poisons and toxins and things. I'd just like to mention that Epstein bought a load of sulfuric acid as well. So all these things are connected.
Can you put his progress chart up? around
Mm-hmm.
his natal chart.
Yeah.
We don't normally look at progressions, but lately I've been somewhat curious, and there's been some rather interesting information coming out with this.
It's progressed Mercury for a start. Wow. I mean, right now it's in the pretty much middle of Mars and Leo, but that moves pretty fast. So it's been.
So his progressed Mercury was hit is part of this eclipse action,
Mm-hmm.
and his progressed Mercury is being squared by Uranus. A couple of things from that. Leaks are going to come about stuff that he did in the background, but also I think we're going to see much more utterances coming out of him that don't bear any relationship to actual words.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Like
yeah.
the disintegration of his verbal abilities.
And
What
it's
struck me?
progress.
Oh, go on.
Oh, I'm just letting my cat out, but a progressed moon right on the base of his chart. That's revealing some hidden things, including his kind of health and things, I think, as well, but also his past. I'm just have to let her out. She's frightened.
What jumped out at me immediately, and I will ask Louise to draw this when she comes back. In
I'm
the
here.
second, so down in this his second house of his personal resources, his progressed Venus and Jupiter are at 25 Libra, exactly squaring his natal
Oh,
Venus in the
yes.
11th house.
Oh.
So that is big for whatever he
Mm-hmm.
was doing with women, with money. Pulling Saturn in deals with institutions, deals with
Mm-hmm.
other countries, with other governments, rather, deals with banks, deals with power brokers.
Wow.
Floodgates, okay, guys?
Mm.
Floodgates. And when Mercury retrogrades, in his seventh house of allies and partners and open enemies, it's going to be flowing right into that Venus and then
Mm-hmm.
Saturn, and then it's going to sit and station direct, flowing right into his Mercury. So this retrograde period is the tides coming in a big way, big way, big way. Cannot stop it. Water
Mm.
cannot be stopped.
No,
Anybody
it
who's
cannot.
ever had a flood, think of what water reshapes. Water
Mm-hmm.
just
It
dissolves.
erodes all of
It
that.
erodes.
But I want to mention progressed Uranus. We don't. So for those that are new to astrology, we don't usually look at progressions of slower moving planets very much because they move really slowly. But his progressed, and I'm going to just add the midpoint of
Oh, look at that. Oh,
his
look at that.
north node and Sun. His progressed Uranus is at the degree of the midpoint of his Sun North Node, and it's heading towards an exact conjunction with the midpoint. Midpoints can be really powerful when they're really hit hard, and it's just adding to all the other things we said because all that stuff in Pisces is squaring that, but also his progressed nodes. I found progressed nodes can be really quite strong, and it's his progressed north node has been sitting on his Uranus. So Uranus is breaking things open in many, many ways. But I think that midpoint, I think, is just because of also what Uranus is doing by transit. So I'll take that midpoint out again.
Well, one thing I want to mention
Mm-hmm.
before we go away from this,
Mm.
going back to the notion of Mercury retrograde, which will be in his seventh house, and it'll be going over, well, no, it won't be. So it'll be in his seventh house. It's going to create a grand water trine flowing
Mm-hmm.
from his, that Saturn and then Venus up in the 11th. That concrete an issue with this as well. And then that's flowing into his IC, the base of his chart, the fourth house cusp, and
Mm-hmm.
his progressed moon, which is this, it's going to still be roughly there when this starts. So
Yeah,
there'll be
it is.
something going on about money and
Mm-hmm.
women and sex and drugs. No, yeah, and death and who knows what else.
Yeah,
Um, who knows what else?
yeah.
Also, uh, his the woman who bears his last name currently, was a model, was introduced to him by Epstein, so perhaps her role in all of this starts flowing out more and more and more during this retrograde.
And many people have alleged she's his handler, basically. So allegedly, for entertainment purposes only.
Anyway, we're
Though
in
I
a
think
really,
we're
really
in.
productive time. Lots and lots of activity, and he's kind of in the middle of it.
Yeah, he is. And I'm just gonna, if it's all right with you, I
Oh,
just kind of
whatever.
want to point out where that Mercury retrograde is so people can kind of see it more.
Please do.
So here we go. So transits. That's not when Mercury stations retrograde, is it? What have I
On the
got?
26th? Oh, that's November 29th, 2025. So it must be the last
Yeah, I
one.
know. I just went back February 26th. So it's actually stations retrograde at 22, not.
Oh, I thought it was 26. My fault. On the
I
26th.
did.
See, my brain, my brain.
Yes, on the 20th. But that's it's yeah. But the so well, actually that makes it even stronger to my mind
Because it's hitting the
because
Saturn.
and it squares his sun exactly and pretty much his moon too. The whole eclipse he was born on. It's also the degree where Venus will catch up to Mercury while Mercury's still at 22 degrees and they will meet each other. Okay. But then we have the Cazimi in the middle of this. I think this Mercury retrograde is really big for him, to be quite honest, because it starts square his sun. So Mercury conjunct Sun is in the middle of the retrograde at 16, almost 17. Pisces square his Uranus.
Oh, he will not be making any sense at all. At
No,
all.
no. Though I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't lose it all completely, so he's aware of how he's being found out. But then when Mercury stations direct at 8 Pisces conjunct the North Node, which is where we're collectively heading, that's in an almost exact water trine to his natal Mercury. And that's March the 20th, the solstice, basically. Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
the equinox.
Sorry, equinox.
Yeah,
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 sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
First day of
my
spring.
yeah,
Yeehaw.
yeah, my brain too. Fall in the
Yeah,
south. Sorry, people.
we're
Anyway,
all doing this. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, first day. Yeah, the next season change. There we go. The next big season
yes,
change.
but yeah, I think this Mercury. I'm one of those people who's like, oh, why does everybody go on about Mercury retrograde so much? Because it's usually don't sweat the small stuff kind of collectively, but if it hits your chart in a way that all of these points are hitting his chart, the retrograde station, the Cazimi in the middle, which is the sweet spot of clarity, and the direct station conjunct the North Node. All three are hitting him hugely. So much stuff is going to come out.
And all the retrogrades this year are in water. So the
They
next
are.
one is going to involve all that stuff that's going on in the 11th house. And then the
Hmm.
one in the fall when Venus is retrograde will be in his house of communication. I think, yeah,
And
yeah.
siblings.
It,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
there'll be a Venus retrograde with that as well. So you
Hmm.
can run, but you
Hmm.
can't hide. Tide coming in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, so even though, we've been predicting all this stuff was going to come out about him for
Yeah.
forever, but to my mind, it began with the Saturn retrograde in Pisces that was doing it. Sometimes water moves slowly, right? It erodes slowly. Saturn does too. I know it's happening slower than we would all wish, but cosmic timing, Kairos time, whatever you call it, it's all coming out. Drip, drip, drip. USA chart, right?
Yep. USA chart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, where is it gone? Here it is. And I'll just put the eclipse back up again. Because no matter what, the USA is a hub for all of this. Yes, it's rippling out globally, but there's many things happening. But here was the eclipse, the solar eclipse on the 17th. We've mentioned it, but now you can see it on the USA's moon. But I would also like to say that the USA's Nessus is conjunct Ceres in Pisces, so hidden things, toxins, poisons in the third house of community information as well. And here's the North Node sitting at 8 degrees, but it's actually again probably at the midpoint of Ceres and Nessus. Without me, just by eye, it looks like it's almost exactly there, right through the eclipses. Venus is passing over this. Pallas Athena is passing over this point. The sun will pass over this point. That was activated. So the moon is the people in a mundane chart. But this is Ceres and Nessus saying, we're going to see all these toxic gaslighting, poisons, all that kind of stuff.
And physical poisons, because the EPA has removed greenhouse gases as a consideration. All right, so that fits this weirdly perfectly. Weirdly perfectly.
And this point here is square the Uranus of the USA too, in the 7th house, which is a lot to do with health, the health of the country, but also to do with health of, women, Virgo-y energy kind of thing, I think. I think again, so much is going to come out about this. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that, people were dissolved in vats of sulfuric acid, unfortunately, and all those kind of things, because that's very Piscean to dissolving.
Well, there's suggestions of trapdoors going into the ocean.
Yep.
Which would fit.
That's Pisces too. Yep. Yep. It's horrific. And, I urge people to only read what they need to know to be aware and do the self-care. I only kind of read bits of it. And I'm like, I don't need to know anymore. I know this has happened and I don't need to know anymore. I don't need to read every bit because I have no power over holding them accountable. But also, to talk about the eclipse degrees and that semi-sextile aspect, it was semi-sextile to the USA's Pluto. So toxins, dirt being dug up, literally.
About institutions and power.
But it could also be literally
things
buried in structures or places like golf courses and ranches.
Now, we have mentioned, and Louise pointed out, that Mars is going to move across. Mars is going to square Uranus, and Mars is going to hit the eclipse degree. Well, as it moves, it's currently on the eclipse, solar eclipse. It was at 19. It's gonna, when it squares Uranus, it's going to be on the U.S. moon. So, and this in the house of communication, there could be something very galvanizing, very catalyzing that happens on that day when that occurs.
But also, I think just a series of events, because I think we can feel that coming already.
Oh, clearly.
I do want to mention one other thing, and I'll put the USA's chart back in soon. But we mentioned last time that if you set the eclipse for DC, which I do, the eclipse degree was on the ascendant of the chart for DC. And now I want to show you the lunar eclipse, the blood red moon. Oh, sorry, I meant to put it as one. The moon is on the descendant and the sun with Pallas Athena, which is justice, is on the ascendant of the DC chart. You can't make that up, really. Okay, so but also to put the USA chart back in. Um, mm, mm, the USA's ascendant, we use the Sibley chart, which I find always works. Astrologers always argue about these charts,
Hmm.
but the eclipse, the full blood red moon eclipse, is square the ascendant of the USA. So the ascendant and descendant, the two angles, are two most important spots in a chart, right? Those angles. It's our identity, but it's how we've compromised ourselves for others or how others see us. This is basically a big change. We're seeing that already. The world sees the US differently, but it's also kind of going to bring more to light. I also think it's going to bring good change by revealing what's needed. Do you have any thoughts on that? Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, oh no, I agree with that completely.
Mm-hmm.
And women are going to be leading the way
Mm-hmm.
with the when you put the lunar eclipse, when you set it for DC, with them being on, there's just so many ways that it says
Mm-hmm.
that. But I'm curious about, is there other stuff you can talk about? Let me see if I can dig up what I'm thinking about.
Mm.
Um,
But I did want to
I,
say Pallas Athena, I already mentioned, is on the ascendant of the eclipse chart set in DC, but Wise Justice Warrior is also square the ascendant. And Sagittarius is freedom, but also natural law, and it's judgment kind of thing in many ways, justice, judgment. It's the rules. The moon is in the ninth house, which is the courts, isn't it? Right? In mundane astrology, in many
yeah.
ways. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it absolutely is. I have
Mm-hmm.
to look in a different system
Yeah,
for
I
what
was
I'm
just
looking
trying to
for.
add to,
No,
yeah.
no, please.
I
There's
w-
something I got to find this because if I'm right,
yeah.
it's going to be mind blowing. So,
Well, while you look at it, I would talk about the Mercury Venus conjunction at 22 Pisces, which is the degree Mercury stations retrograde at, is opposing Neptune in Virgo in the ninth house. Just astounding. So, in fact, let me just get that exact so people can see it. So Mercury, Venus.
mm,
Yes, I think it's going to be women speaking out, but also, about women too. More news coming out, things like that. So Mercury conjunct Venus 2 days after Mercury stations retrograde, so it's still stationed, is almost exactly opposing Neptune in Virgo in the ninth house. So much more truth is going to be revealed and coming to light, and it's kind of a bit of a reckoning for the whole of the country, really, in many ways, a reckoning about how we've behaved, and about people in power have behaved, and the power structures and all kinds of things like that.
I have found what I was looking for.
Okay.
Let me just explain it. I looked
Mm,
at the inauguration day chart from
mm,
2025, and Venus and Saturn were conjunct in Pisces.
mm,
Venus was at 17 Pisces. The Saturn was at 16 Pisces. So this isn't exactly
mm,
involved in the lunar eclipse, although it's close. However, the Mercury retrograde is going to go over both of those. So I'm going to
mm,
say very likely some information about a woman being held back, aka rigging the system, could
mm,
come out during this retrograde cycle.
mm, where we kind of started, but so
Yes,
I don't have the inauguration chart. We could look at it next week maybe, but just say it's being hit as well, right?
it's
what
being
house
hit
was
as
what
the
house was that
11th.
in?
It's
Oh,
being
the
hit.
11th. So politics
Right.
causes.
And the
Mm-hmm.
North Node was at, oh, this is beautiful. The North Node was at 0 Aries in that inauguration chart, and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which dissolves, you know what, is at 0 Aries. So,
Oh,
friends, I think we're at it. I think we are at the gateway to what many of us have been
I th- oh, I think we
suspecting.
are.
There we
I'm annoyed.
go.
I can't get my cursor back, but I can't get it. I just wanted to I wanted to put the inauguration chart up, but it won't let me
Won't let you?
because I'm
Okay.
well, because I'm panicking. Let me stop the share again and start it because I think it's worth having a quick look at because I think people will want to see it. So it takes me a second to put it in. Why is this just cursor? Okay. Nope.
So
It.
I'll vamp a bit while you're doing that. The
Mhm.
Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening at the base of the U.S. chart. It's happening
Yeah.
at, it's on that line that goes down the middle, the fourth house cusp, 10th house cusp. We have Aries and Libra right there. So the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening, bringing new form, dissolving, bringing new structure to whatever our basis is, whatever the foundation of our country is, and the North Node of that administration is right in that spot with this
Mm.
dissolving. Now, I'll just mention that when Saturn and Neptune have come together throughout history, there's been a big change in ruling structures.
Oh, yes, there has.
So,
So, yeah.
and if a chart
So,
says something once, it says it 15 times, So this is another example of reckoning, something coming back around again.
hmm I'm determined to do this now.
Please.
So, oh God, it always doesn't like all these things. You have to put District of Columbia instead of just DC and all that. So we set it for DC basically, don't
And
we
you,
always?
yeah, you said it
So,
for noon.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did get the noon. So I had to put Washington Heights, but it's just like because it's messing me around. But here's the or Highlands I put, but it's same place because it's messing me around. But here's the chart for the inauguration. Have I got this right? 14 Taurus rising.
7 Taurus.
Oh, 12 p.m. noon.
Oh,
Obviously not
actually,
wash.
wait a second. 11:42. I think the, why do I have 11:42 as the time?
Hmm.
If you want to put noon, that's fine. When was it? Maybe the oath was actually administered then?
No, it's always noon, isn't it?
Noon. So use noon. But it'll still
But
have, but
yeah,
all the big stuff is still going to be in the correct place.
and I'm gonna just
Oh, I
say
know. I'm looking
I
at the
use the
wrong.
true calculation of the
Wait,
nodes.
I'm looking at the wrong
But
chart. I have two programs
oh,
open. Hey
but
guys,
hey,
we're moving. It's 14 Taurus. That's the ascendant. 14 Taurus.
okay, cool, awesome. But let me change the nodes to the average because I think that's where they're at 0 Aries, and I find both work. So I am going to share the chart now and show you. So this is the inauguration chart. So what you were talking about mostly does. So there's the North Node, 0 Aries, where Saturn and Neptune are meeting. By the way, it's always at 0 Aquarius because that's the inauguration day, but that's in the most
Hmm.
public place of the chart. So that zero is being hit again as well by many things. But so eclipse was up here in the top of the chart. I'll put the transits around or the let me put the first eclipse. It definitely is being hit, even if with slightly wrong chart.
Venus
So
Nessus. Venus conjunct Nessus.
in oh yes, at
Oh my God.
17 Pisces, and that's the degree where the Sun and Mercury are going to meet as well in the for the Cazimi in the middle of the retrograde. Well,
And
16 degrees.
it squares
Mm,
Trump's Uranus.
yeah, yeah. Oh, told you Nessus is powerful. But it's on Saturn as well, that Mercury Cazimi. I told you this Mercury retrograde was important because it brings things back and
So
it will
holding the
bring
people
things.
back, holding a woman back.
Hmm.
This sure smells like what many of us have sensed happened
Yeah,
coming out.
it does. Yeah. hmm And Uranus, of course, by transit, squared by that in the first house, which is kind of like the face of this administration in many ways. So yeah, well, hmm I'm sure I
Oh,
saw something else too, but you go on. Yeah.
transiting.
hmm
So Uranus at 27 Taurus is in a sextile to Neptune in the 11th house. So there's a window, a doorway, an opening here for finding out ways,
hmm
uh, gaslighting, lies, deception, illusion, why
hmm
Congress hasn't done anything, dot, dot, dot.
Yeah, for sure. And I've always felt that just couldn't prove it and things as well, basically. But maybe I'm wrong about that. But also, on the eclipse, Juno was sitting right on Mercury up in the house of truth and justice, really, with Pallas Athena there as well. So,
In the ninth
you
house,
know, yeah.
that's
hmm
Poland. That's Poland.
Oh, foreign
Don't
countries.
you
There
think
you
so?
go as well. Probably, yeah. And Poland and other countries, foreign countries, are holding people to account for some of what's coming out before we are. But and people keep going, why can't we? Well, I think we will, but it might take a minute. Do you want to have a quick look at the full moon eclipse on it, just to round
Sure, sure, sure,
off?
sure.
Yeah, just to kind of round off the day. So you can see that Saturn and Neptune have passed their conjunction. And so where is the full moon itself? 12 degrees. Not really aspecting loads, but I think the new moon was the outing, and the Mercury retrograde is huge.
Well, the
Huge.
lunar eclipse chart I think is more active on
hmm
the on DC, which is
Yeah,
bigger than this administration.
exactly. But it is square Jupiter.
True that. Well, folks, well, folks,
Hmm.
we said February was going to be a big month. I've been saying this is the month everything changes. This is the week everything
hmm
changes. And we're seeing things
hmm
change. You ever seen a member of the royal family be arrested? No. I think it's been several hundred years since somebody that close to the throne has
Oh,
been arrested in Britain.
a long
Multiple
time.
hundred years.
Yeah, I would never know. And maybe I don't know if the monarchy will fall or not for those interested in it, but I could envision it becoming something more like some of the other European royals, where they're just basically kind of living a very normal life and still called royals, but because I think Charles has already always really deep down wanted a very normal life. And I think William wants that too. Anyway, towers, fireworks.
Yay!
Look after yourselves. It's happening,
Please.
people.
It is. Yay!
Bye.
Bye.